So today I'm going to show you a very simple but very tasty Persian dish. It only has 3 main ingredients, which is walnuts. You have to grind those up very fine, so there's no large chunks. You almost want to make that a paste. And then we have pomegranate paste, which is what gives the dish its distinct flavor. And then you're also going to use chunked chicken breasts. You cut those. I use about 2 to 3, and I cut those up into nice bite-sized pieces. Also using this dish sometimes is duck, but that is actually pretty fatty, so I prefer to use like a lean meat like chicken because there's going to be a lot of oil that actually comes out of the walnut. So if you join me on the stove, I'll begin. So you want to begin by frying the chicken. You want to like braise that chicken. We're going to start by putting a very finely chopped onion into the pan. You want the onion as small as possible because it's going to add to the overall final texture of the dish. You don't want the dish to be chunky, so you want to get that as small as possible. And the smaller they are, the quicker they'll cook down in each side inside of the pan. So we'll get that started by putting the onions in there. Wait till they'll start to get a little bit translucent, and then we'll add our chicken. Okay, so our onions have cooked. Like I said, they became translucent. We sauteed those for a bit. So I just added the chicken, and we're gonna cook those all around. So there's no more pink left on there. So you can make them until they're a little bit golden brown, but you just want to importantly make sure there's no pink left. I'm going to add a little bit of salt, some pepper, and then we're going to use turmeric, which is a nice basis for like most of a lot of Persian dishes. And my secret ingredient, I like to add a small dash of cinnamon. You don't need a lot. It's not a spicy dish. We'll just add a nice overall flavor to the dish. So while this is starting to saute, we can start working on our walnuts. So you actually want to toast these off very lightly. You don't want to burn them. So we're going to toast them a little bit in another pan. This just helps you release some of the oils and the walnuts. And this is about 2 cups of ground walnuts. And I use a mortar and pestle. If you want it to be a little bit quicker, you can put that in like a nut grinder, or you can actually most of the time I actually use a blender to cut that down. I've tried experimenting with the walnuts. I've tried toasting them off first and then crushing them, but this seems to like give me an overall final product. So you just want to watch your heat on there because they will burn quick. You want to keep it nice and high on them. And you'll notice when the walnuts are ready, they'll start to get a little bit more golden brown themselves. So the chicken is pretty close to where you want it. It's cooked all the way around. You can feel them getting a little bit harder. They're not as loose. So I'm just going to turn the heat down for now. I'll put a cover on that. And these have been heated, so they're getting a little bit more toasty. So you can see that they've gotten a little bit more golden brown. And there's the ratio to pomegranate sauce to water is about 1 cup to 2 cups. So this bottle is actually about 1 cup. So what I first like to do, I like to add 1 cup of water to my already toasted walnuts. I'm just going to mix that around. This helps the pomegranate sauce a little bit more evenly distributed amongst the walnuts. And then I'm just going to pour this in there. So as this is coming out, I like to stir, make sure it gets distributed throughout, make sure the walnuts and whatever doesn't burn. And once you get most of this paste out, what I like to do is I like to fill the bottle with hot water. Since this is already a cup, that'll be my last cup of water. That way you make sure you don't let any of that pomegranate sauce go to waste. So that's actually pretty much it. We're gonna let this cook down. This is gonna take a couple hours. It depends on like how much actual water you put in there. It's also gonna depend on like the size of your pan. But the sauce itself will start to thicken. You'll see it. You'll see some of the oils actually coming up to the top. The sauce itself will get a little bit darker. And then we'll actually, I'll let it cook for like a few minutes, and then just to let it all get together, and then I'll add the chicken to this. But overall it's gonna stew for a couple hours. So I'm just gonna actually add my pomegranate mixture to the chicken. And this is gonna, like I said, this is gonna stew for a couple hours at least. Sometimes 2 or 3, like I said, it depends on the size of the pan. The amount of water that you put in. If it has to cook for more than a few hours, you might actually want to take some of those chicken pieces out, because then the chicken is just going to fall apart inside. So we'll see how long this is going to cook. Usually I'm okay. Usually the chicken's fine by the time I get there. So we're just going to let that simmer on the stove. We'll keep it covered. We'll keep coming back to it. You want to make sure you stir it often to make sure it doesn't burn to the bottom of the pan. You want to make sure like the heat's good. But that's it. We'll be back in a couple hours and show you the final product. So you'll notice that the mixture got nice and thick and bubbly. This has been almost an hour. I'm just going to do like a small taste test. I want the dish to be a little bit more sour than sweet. That'd be the sourness of the pomegranate juice, the pomegranate molasses. But it's very important at this point just to make sure you're still stirring and that it's not sticking to the bottom of the pan, because it could easily start burning at this point. So our Fesenjoon is ready. It cooked for a little bit over an hour and a half, but you can see it's nice and thick. And the sauce is pretty smooth. So here's my final plate with Fesenjoon, tahdig, and Persian rice, and a side of mustard, which is yogurt.